Hello everybody, it's Sixshot here again. This is going to be my second commentary on this, and like I said before, I'm pretty terrible at it. Don't expect anything much. Anyway, this is Tehran Highway again, I guess you could say my home, on Hostile Takeover. It is currently running on Team Deathmatch at the moment, where I got in early in the round and decided to record the entire match. The entire round lasted for quite a long time, so you're going to see bits and pieces that are sped up in order to shorten the entire length of the video. Currently the video stands at around roughly 10 minutes or so. At this moment I'm running the assault kit with the AUG rifle, underslung with the M26 MASS. Before, the M26 used to be one of the more hated attachments for any Battlefield players, simply because for a short while the M26 was bugged in the dart configuration, which as people have realized that it was doing a lot more damage than is intended. So the patch came out, and that which fixes the issues, so people stopped using it as a way of exploiting the damage. I've used it a couple of times, but I didn't rely too heavily on it, so I didn't do much with the attachment. Out of boredom, I just figured I would give this thing a try and run around with it, and it seemed to be okay, given the fact that it is a almost like a semi-auto shotgun, with about 6-round capacity max, one in the chamber. It is pretty decent when you're trying to take out several enemies at once. Since I'm not using the dart configurations, of course, you're not going to get that much penetrations on to get multiple kills out of it. But for today, I guess I did pretty well on it. I wouldn't say that was the best. Caught on a mortar with a Magnum. One thing people seem to forget is that if you're using a mortar, you're going to be lit up. And when you're lit up, you're going to be found, you're going to get shot off. Most people don't realize that. And of course, I tend to sneak around the back. One of the funnier parts of people who are using mortars is that sometimes I would try to bait them out of the mortar in order to get a stab kill. It works. Not very often, but it sometimes works. As you can see here, I have an enemy that is within the vicinity, waiting for that enemy in order to come around. And of course, he gets a shotgun shell to the head. One thing I tend to do in Team Deathmatch is trying to find ways in order to flank the enemy. The biggest mistake for anyone who plays Team Deathmatch on this map and in Battlefield in general is that they don't move. If you don't move in Team Deathmatch, you're pretty much you're just stuck. You're going to end up being pinned down, and soon the enemies are going to find optimal positions in order to keep you pinned there, and you're never going to get a different spawn point ever. This is also one of my decent run on this particular life. Anyways, people should constantly move around and keep the spawn, at least the spawning location, ever changing. Because if you just sit around, you're not going to be doing anything much, and it's just going to be flat out boring. I always hate it when the team just don't constantly move around, because in Team Deathmatch you should always be constantly moving around, never sitting in one spot. And that's one of the common mistakes that people have when they play in Team Deathmatch on this map. This is probably the biggest map out of the stock maps that comes included with the game. Every other maps are pretty small in size, so you're always cramped and never able to get anywhere much. Of course, sitting around is probably a better idea if you're on one of those maps, but in Terran Highway you don't want to just sit around all day. I don't know what this guy is doing. Standing around there looking at nothing. One thing that that also kind of irks me is how Team Deathmatch is designed on Battlefield, or Battlefield 3 in general. I cannot understand why, when you're in the spawn screen, waiting to spawn in, that it would have a location called random spawn point when it is in fact never random at all. I don't know why DICE implemented this kind of system for Team Deathmatch. I can understand it if this was Squad Deathmatch, because it's a lot more randomized, and it is. I played some of it in Backcountry too. Saved by the killer's gunshot. You know, they got my dog tags taken. Anyways, the spawn system is pretty terrible in Team Deathmatch. It is never random. Sometimes you do get a random spot, but it is always never random, simply because it always spawns you at roughly the same location, maybe 4 or 5 times in a row, and never anywhere else. And to me, that is never really random. If you truly want it random, then you should be spawning at a randomized location, regardless of whether or not you are going to spawn next to an enemy or with your teammates. In Team Deathmatch, you want to at least spice things up, and continually spawning at the same place multiple times is not really making the game more enjoyable, especially for Team Deathmatch. So that's one of the issues that I have with it. Another issue I have usually stems from people who are not fully aware or don't take the time to really spot out people. Even though it takes a split second to do that, but sometimes it is so much more helpful for your team in general to just spot the enemies out. And even more so is to provide people like me who just run and gun or rush into a hail of gunfire, to provide those kind of players some cover fire. A lot of the times you don't get that kind of cover fire, and a lot of the times you end up dying in the middle of somewhere, only to see your killer getting killed by somebody else because they just realized that the person who killed you has been lit up on the map or is now visibly seen. So a lot of the people don't really pay attention to the environment, to what they're looking at. Anyway, Team Deathmatch is not my cup of tea. The only reason I play it is because the server runs it as part of their map rotation. It is not really the best mode for the Battlefield 3 franchise, or rather the Battlefield 3 game in particular. If I really wanted to play Team Deathmatch, there are plenty of other games that are a whole lot better as far as gameplay and fun factor. Anyways, the round is pretty much over, and of course my team won. There are cases where my team loses quite terribly, for that matter. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Of course, going through some of the rewards. Nemesis medal. That's interesting. And let's see how many stats. That is 8. So 2 melee ribbons. Not too shabby. Anyway, this is 6 Shots signing off. I'll see y'all later. Bye.